My friends, welcome to another episode of Leadership Synergized. I'm your host, Kevin Smith. Today, we're diving into a conversation that is rich with experience, authenticity, and wisdom. Our guest is someone I've admired for years, Mr. Doug Skoke. Doug is a leader who brings his whole self to the table. His journey spans leadership roles, life transitions, fatherhood, personal reinvention, and a deep commitment to understanding the person within. What you're about to hear is not just a resume of titles or accomplishments, but a powerful story of resilience, self-discovery, purpose, and growth. In this and the coming episodes, Doug shares openly about the challenges that shaped him, the internal work that transformed him, the lessons he learned from raising two adopted sons, and how he ultimately stepped boldly into entrepreneurship. His vulnerability, humility, and courage offer golden nuggets for leaders at every stage of life. So settle in, lean forward, and get ready for a meaningful conversation that will challenge your thinking and inspire your heart. Doug, my friend, thank you for being with us, and welcome to Leadership Synergized. Skoke, who brings great joy and words of wisdom and has brought it in the previous 3 weeks during our episodes of Leadership Synergized. And Doug, we last left our discussion last week talking about energy and how it plays out in leadership. And you gave some great examples of what energy may appear to be, but how it can be counterproductive if leaders aren't truly understanding how to effectively bring energy into the team. You talked about the platinum rule a little bit. And I know you mentioned early on in our discussions, one of the first episodes we had recently, how loss has played in you helping to identify, just become self-aware to the level that we see and you are today. Recently, in the past 2-3 years, I've lost people that have been critical in my growth and development. And the one constant they had was the way they lived it rather than just talked it. And when I say lived it, they lived the model of what their expectations were. They lived energy by their presence, their support, their ability to nail timing to a level that, quite honestly, I've not experienced in my life. And it probably has taught me more about anything in leadership of the effectiveness of timing, where it can be the wrong time or the right time, and how we need to consider that in our decision making, but also approaching the guidance and the influence we bring to our team members. But one thing I take away and have taken away from both individuals is it's not about the words we say as much as just living it out for the people that we serve, whether it's in our personal lives. We're both parents. I'm a grandparent in our organization in that piece. But I think the thing you nailed, my friend, was that it's not intensity that brings energy. Intensity can actually turn the energy volume way, way down.
Yeah. That's it's so significant. All of this, when we're talking about, I don't care if you're leading a team or parenting a kid for that matter. All of these interactions require, at some point or level, meeting people where they're at. If you actually want to have an impact and gain an understanding of what makes, your top salesperson tick, or why your son or daughter decided to do what they did, it takes an incredible amount of intention and curiosity, without judgment, to gain a fundamental understanding of people at an individual human level, which plays out in energy too. So if I know that a team member of mine is more of an introverted type, speaks very softly, thinks very deeply, totally shuts down when there's intensity in the air, if it's misplaced, versus somebody else on the team who just thrives with the high energy and the rah, 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 let's go, wants to ring the bell for every, sale that they've made or whatever. You got to manage these people. You got to lead these people in two completely different ways. And that's what's missing so often. I was on the receiving end of management by everybody gets managed the same way. It's just flat out wrong and counterproductive. But it takes time, effort, energy, and intention to be able to manage people or humans at a very individual basis. So you got to be aligned with the right company too, because I've always been, no matter what profession I've been in, there's always sometimes this friction between results and development of people. And I would always put development of people way up there. But if you're aligned with a company that's all about results, you get what I'm saying. That's out of proportion.
You said it very well, my friend, and you hit upon something there that's near and dear to my heart. Many times we know as leaders or as executives, whatever title you want to or definition you want to give to the role, that we are responsible for those aspects, but we don't give ourselves enough margin to truly reflect or meditate or think seriously about developing those individuals, what we do. And look, Doug, I'm one that believes, and I may be wrong, it's just an opinion, no study. I don't think humans naturally were made to give feedback, nor naturally made to receive feedback in the effective manner that we could truly use it if we're not taking that margin, that time we need. And too many times when we hear that, we think, well, but I don't have time. I've got these tasks to get done. It doesn't take hours or days if we're focused in that piece. And to your point, companies who allow their leaders to get that margin built in to their duties, the roles, responsibilities they have, I admire tremendously.
Yeah.
And I'm saddened a lot because I see a great many of today's companies, schools, universities, who haven't taken the learnings we've had in the past 4 or 5 decades to where as humans, we need that margin time to be able to be most effective and allow that for their people. Because I agree with you, the number one role of a leader, a parent, a grandparent, is to develop the human beings that are around them.
It's interesting you use the word margin. I think I'm going to steal that from you and incorporate that into my. So that's like the margin, meaning like the space to do it without fear of or whatever, like a.
Yeah.
Not only this. Okay, hold on, wait. Not just the space, but the encouragement. Like it's baked in like that. You should be doing that.
Yeah. It's like the white space in the book you're writing. If you want to accentuate a point, it's like how many times, and Doug, I've been guilty of this through an era where offshore manufacturing, low-cost regions became popular.
Yep.
We that were left, our task list went from this to this constantly every day, and we felt good if we checked them all off, So it's nothing for me. It would have been nothing for me to have 25, 35 tasks to get done in a day, not a week, a day's time. And that's been something as I've reached this point in life, it's been difficult for me to lose track of. If I have a major regret in my career and life is I developed a skill for all of that task-focused stuff. I wish I didn't have that. And you had mentioned in a couple of episodes ago, emotional intelligence and intellect and capacity. And that's something I've been working on this year because I felt at nearing 67, I would be a lot more patient than I really have been. And I think it centers around the ability to own the emotional intellect and the quotient that we all have. And what I have found, Doug, in this past year of focus is by just focusing in that area, I feel good about so many other aspects of me having improved in how I serve my wife, my kids, my grandkids, and others in that piece. Whether they see it or not, I think God or the universe has moved me in the right direction. And, it's one of those silly things that says, where was that at 40 years ago? Why wasn't I paying attention?
Mm. I, maybe you, maybe you weren't ready to pay attention 4 years ago, you know?
Evidently not. But yeah, that margin and space is so important for us all. And
Right.
it's not the busyness and filling our minds up that
No.
makes us a success. In fact, that's where we fail more often than not.
Hmm. Totally. Totally.
Doug, let's talk a little bit. You've been holding up the Coffee with Kelly coffee mug a
I
bit, and I
did.
know
You saw the product placement.
I did. Yeah, I don't know if Kelly's paying you for this
Yeah.
episode, this marketing piece, or I'm just kidding in that window. But we both have kind of connected through the Coffee with Kelly, and we had talked a bit, you and I, earlier before we started our recordings about the value Kelly has brought to you, and in similar fashion she was an inspiration for me to take a step many, many years ago in that piece that I didn't know that I was ready for. But let's talk a bit about Doug and the people who have impacted you and some critical points of your life where you recognize that Doug was really becoming that person he was intended to be all along.
Oof. You know what? I am inclined to share a Kelly story here that I just don't know.
Oh,
I know it won't alienate her. I know it won't, but it's a little inside. All right, let's see how I can tee this up. Because it's been incredibly impactful
mm,
and influential and is the very reason why we're sitting here having this conversation. And at points in the conversation when I've said that I took the leap into solopreneurship at the beginning of this year. Kelly factored into that
mm,
in a way that you wouldn't expect, I don't think. What I realized in this journey, uh, and the journey being company I was aligned with toward the end of 2024 was unraveling, going out of business, recruitment firm, boutique recruitment firm. And now I'm at this crossroads and I'm leaning back into faith and trust and surrender. Is it time? Is it now time for me to blaze my own path to do this? What preceded it, because I now consider Kelly's been a coach, a mentor, on the Gallup Strength stuff, and is now a dear friend. Her and her husband Brian, like they're truly some of my closest friends. I thought an exit strategy for me would be to somehow fuse my ability, my business development chops. I'm pretty adept at building relationships and strategic sales and things of that nature. How could I take those skills and then also utilize my coaching and Gallup strengths, exposure into joining Kelly and growing Kelly Merbler's company? Like, wouldn't that be the best of all worlds? That would be amazing. Oh my God. Because I sensed that the company I was with and the recruitment, it was it was not, it was a matter of when, not if,
mhm.
So these are my thoughts. So I started having conversations with Brian, who's like a brother to me and kind of like our business manager in some ways, they're the best. And then Kelly, hey, how can we work? This would be super cool for me to do. And the conversation sort of dragged, and I was always coming back with, here's what the position could look like. And here's kind of the money I would need to make for it, but then we can do it down. And I kept devaluing myself with each and every conversation to the point, and I'm just truncating the story now, but it got to a point where I was like, okay, I'll just like come work, commission only or something, and but it never materialized, right? And I realized that sometimes the no's in life are so much more important than the yeses. So it wasn't a hard no, but it was a soft enough no, like we just don't see where this is gonna work. Um, that catapulted me to close the door on that. And it was a crutch for me. And I think she knew it too. It was a crutch. It was a crutch for Doug saying, not really an option. Boom, that thrust me into, does that make sense?
Oh, it absolutely does. Yeah.
Here's another one. Same. Best friends. I'm blessed to have a great circle of amazing friends that date back decades, right? Several of them are extraordinarily successful. God bless them. Remember Mudita, vicarious joy. I'm not jealous. I don't compare. I am so freaking happy for them and the successes that they've had, financially in particular. So I called a meeting with a couple of them and I said, I think I'm going to take this leap and I would like to, here's my runway. I don't have a ton of savings. I would like to ask for, an interest-free loan of a certain amount for the first few months, and they said no, basically. They said no. And I was like, what? Said, you don't need it. You don't need it. And you're going to thank us for saying no, because you are going to be successful. You will be profitable before you even think you will be profitable. You would never sleep on the street. We would never allow for anything like that. You don't need any money though from us. And I'm going to take Kevin. I was shocked. I was disappointed. I was, but those two no's for this, what I'm doing now, were so very significant. The other person I would point to is there's always somebody in your life, maybe you're lucky enough to have one or a few, that sees things in you that you don't see in yourself, or maybe feel deep down about you, but have buried them under so much rubbish and garbage and negative self-talk and limiting beliefs that they would never see the light of day. So I'm aligned with a nonprofit now. I sit on the board, which is insignificant to me to say I sit on a board. It means absolutely freaking nothing. I care less. I'm not a title person. I don't even like the spotlight. It's service. This nonprofit is just, they do amazing work down here in South Florida. 4 years ago, the CEO of the nonprofit, maybe 5 years ago, sent me a message out of the blue. I didn't even know who she or they were at the time, asking if I would like to get on a Zoom call. Got on a Zoom call. I didn't know why. And she said, well, I've seen, I'm kind of a fan. I've seen some of your posts on LinkedIn. And I was wondering if you would come speak to the team at our summer retreat. I'm like, speak about what? You talk a lot about just mindset and gratitude and stuff. Would you be interested? I said, wow, yeah, I guess. What do you charge for something like that? Kevin, never spoken, there's no stages I've been on. There's no groups I've spoken. So of course the answer was I charge nothing. The fact that you see something in me that I feel is deep down, but I would never bring to the surface, is worth more to me than anything that I could ever even put a price on. And from that day forward, I went and spoke with her team. It was one of the most moving experiences of my life. And I continued to serve the organization in a volunteer capacity for just because of the work they do. And then a board seat opened up, like a year ago or something. And she asked me if I wanted to apply for it. And so I've been sitting on the board of that nonprofit. But it's an indelible experience in my life, reinforcing that human to human, that so many times, somebody else will see something in us and bring that out in us that I would have never done for myself, but had a yearning to do. And that would be the other example I would point to.
Thank you for sharing that, Doug. And thank you so much for bringing up your role with the board. And so I want our viewers and listeners to truly know that this man is a servant, first, foremost, and always. there have been a number of times that I've joined the Coffee with Kelly tribe, if you will. I think that's how Kelly
Yeah.
terms it, that piece. It's a tribe that's grown over the past several years, 5, 6, 7 years. And once in a while, they meet on Friday mornings at 8 a.m. via this digital aspect, Eastern Daylight, Eastern Standard. I don't know, these whole time zones drive me crazy in life, but
Yep.
trying to keep up with them. But let me just state that there is a there is nothing short of the utmost respect for this gentleman shown by everyone I've ever heard speak of him and with him, and his service that he provides in his home area in the Miami, Florida, Miami Beach, Fort Lauderdale area is just second to none.
Yep.
And Doug, I appreciate you as a child of God, a child of the universe, for all you do in that regard. And you've had much success, my friend. You've talked a lot about during our time together where you are today with your self awareness. As we get ready to wrap up, just a few more questions about you that you could share your experiences. When you think back 10, 15, 20 years ago, the Doug Skoke and the self awareness he had to the self awareness Doug Skoke has now, what is the challenge you have today in continuing that self awareness? Because, Doug, when I ask that question, I don't know about you, I used to be naive and egotistical enough to think I'll look in the mirror one time and say, hey, that's Kevin Smith, and take me or leave me, world, and that's the only self awareness I needed. But now I believe it's truly self awareness in the moment, with every breath we take.
Mm. My challenge, well, Dr. Seuss, first of all, be who you are, say what you feel, because those who matter don't mind, and those who mind don't matter, is foundational for me. Where I have continue, so it's not past tense, where I continue to calibrate on the self-awareness and the embracing of me as is not overcompensating. The pendulum. So I had 40 plus years of caring, whether I admitted it or not, it doesn't matter, caring deeply about what others thought of me.
Mm,
And I was liked.
mm,
Forget respected, just liked. Go along to get along, people pleasing, my needs, wants, desires at the back of the line, everybody else's in the front. So, so that was a ton of hard wiring for most of my life. Then, as I come into being the last 8, 9, 10 years and get really comfortable with who I am and why I show up and how I show up the way that I do. And then I start setting boundaries and adhering to boundaries. It's very uncomfortable for
mm,
me because that's me disappointing somebody in my self-talk if I'm setting a boundary. But the calibration of falling too deeply into what you describe, which is you look in the mirror, I'm Kevin Smith, take me or leave me, whatever that version of you was. Well, I now discover like, oh my God, I kind of like who I am. I'm enjoying
mm.
I'll sit in the uncomfortableness of who I am and accept myself wholly without apology. Now I need to be careful because that can now start to come across as arrogance,
Mm.
as whatever, I'm stuck up or I don't need anybody now. And it's not meant that way, but it was so cathartic for me to finally accept me for who I am that I think I skewed too far in that direction and I'm still calibrating that back. So the self-awareness piece never ends. If I wasn't as self-aware as I am, I could care less if I offended somebody because, hey, I'm me. Now I know who I am. Like I'm comfortable with me and I'm going to continue to lean into me. And this is the independent version of me. And if I wasn't self-aware on how that might come across to others, then it would actually be super counterproductive, I think, and would go in an unchecked in a bad direction. So that's how I continue to calibrate. I catch myself. a lot.
Well said, my friend. Well said. Just thinking back through all your experiences that has brought us this Doug Skoke that we see here on screen today. What's one piece of advice you might have for personal development, leadership development, transitional success for individuals who may just be starting that journey of their career, of their personal life?
It goes back to self. I I'm just a huge proponent, fan, champion of figuring out what makes you tick. You are stuck with you your entire life. And if life is an inside out job, which it very much is, then it's almost, I mean, it's incumbent on you, a human, to lean into you and to figure out your insides so that you can actualize and present the best version of you throughout your entire life. So, how do you do that? Different strokes for different folks. There's all kinds of assessments, personality assessments, and so forth. There's not an assessment I've met that I haven't been a dance partner with to date because it's just how I'm naturally wired. But even if you're not naturally wired that way, I think devoting whatever over the course of one's entire life, like lean into figuring out who you are. That's incredibly important. Another mindset that has served me very well and is extraordinarily hard, even current day as an adult, a decently functioning adult, is that go-giver mentality. It's to not keep score in life. It's to random acts of kindness. It's to extend yourself to others, to do things out of the goodness of just wanting to do things for somebody without expecting or anticipating something in return. That is very hard for a young professional. It's very hard for a mid-career professional. It's there's a lot of scores that are being kept because I think that's human nature. Oh my God, I've given Kevin, 2 to 3 pretty warm introductions to people in my network that I think, could be beneficial to him. Crickets coming back from Kevin. Where's it? You understand what I'm saying? It plays out in a million different ways. I'm that way, or I was that way. If you can master the art of whatever, the skill, the mindset of that go-giver, and that's Bob Berg and whoever is co-author, it's a great book. I would recommend it to anybody. The power of giving for the sake of giving and not anticipating or wanting or needing anything in return is just, uh, it's paid off infinitely. You don't always know how, you don't know when, you don't know why. And it's also allowed me to better assess if I think I'm in a very one-sided deal and if I fail myself falling into, it's not a trap, but the comparison, oh, wait a second, like it doesn't have to be leads. It could just be me offering myself and my energy to somebody, my present moment focus, my whatever it is. If I now realize in these relationships that it's one-sided, the new Doug then just backs out gracefully. They're not deserving of me. That sounds arrogant, doesn't it? Whatever. That's the arrogant piece of it, I suppose, but it's the energy and self-protection piece too. So those two things, go-giver mentality is huge, and diving into learning about yourself throughout the course of your entire life so that you can fall in love with yourself. Yeah, I don't know of any other better endeavor throughout the course of one's life.
Thank you, Doug. Very well said again, my friend. What's next for you when it comes to your personal growth, your development? Where's your focus at? Is it fully on your business? Is there something else that you're reflecting on that maybe Doug wants to grow through?
Um, Business for sure. I mean, I'm not even a full year into it, and I want to create something that has some stickiness to it and some legs. And it's in my industry, in recruitment and executive search, it's a roller coaster, and it could be feast or famine for a million different reasons. So I need a good amount of at least another solid year of doing whatever I need to do, as a solopreneur. I'm not looking to bolt people on to what I'm doing now and prove to myself that I have a sustainable business here. I am also waiting on the official, I guess, trademark from the PTO, the Patent and Trademark Office, that's been in play for like a year and a half now. For it's not really an alter ego, but I refer to myself in the third party sometimes as the blue collar Buddha. So I'm waiting on that trademark to come through, which it should. I mean, I've been through all the stages, which, to your question, at some point in time, I feel like I'm going to do something with that. What is that something? I'm not exactly sure yet. It's going to be some sort of one-on-one coaching, though, I believe. Uh, that's it. And showing up each and every day as the best version of me, trying to be the best parent I can be, the best, um, resource for the people that I work with, the best friend that I can be to my friends, and that's it. And I go to bed every night with a smile on my face and love in the heart, and I wake up every morning. God gives us all this massive blank canvas, um, with the freedom and the ability to choose how we paint that canvas every single day. Our choices, right? That's where our power is, and that's a beautiful thing. So each and every day I wake up on the right side of the dirt is an exceptional day, regardless of the poop storms that are swirling above, because they always are. They certainly are in my life, and they probably are in most people's lives.
I would agree with that. And what a powerful way to wrap up and really bring Doug Skoke to us in that last very clear statement you made. It's going to bed with love, waking up with love, and being the best Doug Skoke you can be in that piece. And if we all took that attitude with everything we did, we can only be the best us.
Yeah.
Nobody else has that opportunity. Just be the best us. When we're frustrated, we can be the best us. We can't be the best anybody else. And I love the reminder that you just gave us, my friend.
Thank you.
Doug Skoke, if anyone watching or listening would like to touch base with you, whether it's, into what the
No.
name of your company, LFG Now,
So
I
it
think.
is LFG now. I don't even really have. You're really, by the way, Kevin, as this comes out of my mouth, I realize you're slumming with your guests right now, having me on. But I don't have a website,
Not at
so
all, man.
I'm not big on social media. LinkedIn is the way to go. There you go. So I'm the only Doug Skoke on LinkedIn, and my company is called LFG Now.
Check it out, folks, because the Doug Skoke that you've had these past 4 episodes is someone that could benefit you in your life wherever you are. Whether you're thinking about starting a family, starting a business, thinking about a new job, or maybe you just lost a job, Doug Skoke can help you with that piece. And Doug, I appreciate your vulnerability, your honesty, the truth that has come out through our discussion, and I just can't tell you how much it means to me. I have grown tremendously during these 4 episodes, my friend, and that's because of you. I love you as a child of Christ. I appreciate you, and there's full respect. Full respect. If I could ever be a benefit to you or help you, I'm there, my brother. But just for the bottom of my heart, thank you for what you've given all of us.
I appreciate you, and I am filled with gratitude that you would have me on your show, your platform, and we could exchange this kind of dialogue. It's extraordinarily meaningful. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Doug. And thank all of you for joining in and continue your journey. As Doug and I have both talked a little bit about during our time together these past 4 weeks, everything in life is uphill. Adversity is just around the corner. That's okay. There's no such thing as easy in life, but that's where you get your value raised, which increases your value to bring to others. God bless you. We love you. Thanks for joining. What an incredible conversation. My friends, I hope you picked up as much value from Doug's story as I did. His honesty, depth, and his commitment to becoming better from the inside out remind us that leadership isn't about titles, positions, or accomplishments. It's about who we are, how we grow, and how we serve. Doug's journey through adversity, fatherhood, reinvention, and ultimately entrepreneurship shows us the true nature of resilience. His reminder that life is an inside-out experience where challenges become opportunities and comparison gives way to joy is a message every leader, every one of us, needs to hear. Doug, thank you, my brother, for your vulnerability, your wisdom, and your heart. And to all of you listening, may today's conversation inspire you to pause, breathe, reflect, and continue your own journey toward authenticity and purpose. This has been Leadership Synergized. I'm Kevin Smith. Until next time, stay intentional, keep growing, and stay synergized.